Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right, a capsule. This is a small section of a larger live stream that I do on Thursdays called The Office Hours, where we talk about StarCitizen, we talk about StarCitizen news, we talk about StarCitizen lore, a bunch of other stuff. So join us live, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub or youtube.com/TheAstroPub live. 9 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. Come join us. As you may have seen, StarCitizen 3.17.2 has just released to live. And this video is designed to go out to those of you who may not play the game much, may not have never played the game, maybe following it, maybe have walked away after a while, and you're wondering, what's in this patch and is it worth coming back? Well, I'm going to go through the entirety of the patch notes, beat by beat, read them to you, tell you if it's worth it or not. So let's get started with the very first one. So features. The very first feature that's mentioned in the patch notes is Derelict Reclaimers version 1. And they say, added additional points of interest that will be scattered both on planets and in space. These Derelict Reclaimers come with puzzle traversal elements, along with multiple legal and illegal mission types, which include delivery and FPS combat in and around the crash sites using the new planetary navigation mesh. There are multiple Reclaimer derelicts in space, with 3 associated delivery, investigation, and mercenary missions. We've also added a new ground-based Derelict Reclaimer site inhabited by NPCs called Ghost Hollow, which involves delivery, bounty hunter, and mercenary missions. So, for those of you who haven't seen that, that includes, I believe, the Black Kite mission set, which is where you have to go find a specific Reclaimer in space. It's very cool, very fun. It involves a lot of the AI navigation mesh, which we'll talk about here in a moment as well. They're difficult to find, at least in the PTU they were, so you may not be able to find them very easily, but they do exist as long as you're doing the delivery, investigation, and mercenary missions, as well as you can also do illegal or legal. And as I'm going to continue reading this, I'm going to put my glasses on because make it easier for me to read. All right, the next one on the features is the Derelict Colonialism Outposts. So these are derelict versions of the Colonial Outpost, which we will not see until we get to Pyro. The initial release will see 5 unique outpost locations on Microtech with the new delivery missions, small traversal puzzles, and AI guards that utilize the new planetary nav mesh, along with the new dropship reinforcement system. Now, the dropships are pretty intense. They sometimes work, sometimes they don't. I don't know if they got them to work really effectively, but it is pretty impressive to see these ships come down and open up their back and shooting at you or other ships around you. These are almost always Cutlass Blacks, but the colonialism outposts in Stanton are very cool. They're very unique. The 5 unique locations are in very different biomes. So you have a lot of pure tundra biomes. You've got more foresty biomes, more plains, all sorts of places. So you can check them out. They're all on Microtech. They also added the Snake Pit racetrack. Now this is going to require a little bit of explanation. The community created a racetrack. This racetrack is they called it the Snake Pit because it was an actual location in verse that had this big windy snake-like canyon. The developers were watching the community build use these areas as a racetrack and decided they're going to use the assets that they had in their spare time to build a racetrack. It is a place you can quantum to. It looks like a giant refinery. It looks great. And it's fairly cool that the CIG is using this kind of connection with the community. Then you have AI planetary navigation. This system allows NPCs to move on planetary surfaces using a dynamically generated navigation mesh. This will effectively process planetary terrain and objects to prioritize the processing of the environment around the players into nav mesh, allowing the use of all existing functionalities on planets. The first implementation of this feature will be at the Reclaimer and Colonialism Outpost derelicts points of interest. This is big for 2 reasons. Number 1, this means that we will be able to have more AI wandering around Stanton. Does that mean that we're going to see it a bunch of places? No. It means we're going to see it around places where they can populate those AIs. In theory, those AI can wander wherever they need to go, but they have a set boundary where they patrol and they activate. So you're not going to go to the middle of the desert in Hurston and find an AI. They only exist on specific locations. Most specifically, I believe, Microtech is the only place they are. But eventually, they will expand to other locations. So that's an important step. The other thing that's important for this is fauna. That's right, animals. Animals coming into the verse. We know that as of last month, Squadron 42, which is the sister game to StarCitizen, which are effectively the same games, started development on fauna in their game, which means that when that's done, it'll be ported over to StarCitizen. That could happen soon. It could take a little bit longer, but without AI planetary navigation mesh, you wouldn't have that in the first place. So that's good sign. And they do move and flank and move around on the planets. So then you have AI landing improvements. This enables AI ships to land and deliver reinforcements on non-structured ground areas like planetary terrain, where a predefined landing area and assistance from air traffic control is not available. It is, again, awesome to see the reinforcements come down and to see these ships land. So, gameplay. We have illegal collect and delivery missions. This is a new set of delivery missions focusing on illegal cargo. These will be offered by the Red Wind Line Haul once the player reaches high enough reputation with them as a courier. The player will be sent to sketchy, rundown locations like drug labs and stash houses, and is tasked with delivering goods between them, some of which may not be legal. The intro mission should be available around Hurston if you have a rank 2 courier rep with Red Wind Line Haul. The illegal missions are available outside of Hurston's jurisdiction if you have a high enough with Red Wind Line Haul reputation and have completed the intro mission in Hurston. These missions come in 5 different versions, each with different quantity of cargo and corresponding monetary and reputation reward given upon completion. This is a rework of older illegal cargo missions that we've had in the past. It's not that much different, but it's now got reputation associated with it, which gives you a little bit more money as you go around with it. So if you miss those old Mobby Glass and RS-1 spacesuits and Osoian hide, that is what this is. So I'm going to do a more extensive look at that specifically because I will do a Smuggler's Guide to 317.2 because it is my main gameplay loop. I've been doing those in the past, so keep an eye out for the Smuggler's Guide to 317.2 coming your way soon. Next, we have added markers for players and friendly AI that are associated with your current FPS mission. So if you're in an FPS mission, in the past, people didn't know where the friendly AI and friendly players were, so they would often shoot security and get a crime stat, which was bad. So what they did is they gave this little blue arrow on top of players and who have the same mission as you, and little blue arrow on top of the AI, so you know who not to shoot. It's a small little addition which goes a long way to making the game a little bit more playable, or a little bit easier to grasp. For ships and vehicles, they added the Anvil Centurion. Now, the Anvil Centurion, it's a ship or a vehicle, a ground vehicle. It's an interesting place. I don't know if it's really worth it as a ship. Well, if you let me know in the comments below if you think I should do a full review on the Centurion. I will. I'll give you my thoughts on it. But as of right now, it's $95, $110 non-war bond. So normally it'll be $110. Pretty expensive for what you get, but I guess it's a nice little addition. Getting more ground vehicles is always a good idea. With weapons and items, we also get the new lootable item, the Grey Cat Aerial Backpack Collector. I believe this is the salvage backpack. They also added armor to shops and lootable containers, the RRS Specialist Heavy Armor, Warzov SF Bush Drift, the Redshift, and the Snowdrift variants, which is, I believe, the subscriber armor. So it's pretty cool to get that in there as well. You can go pick that up. Locations. They also added the Rest Top Hangar editions. Now, Every single rest stop, when you go to land, will give you a hangar location. This is good because it means you can land in any rest stop without having to wear a suit to land. But if you are in a hurry, you're in a big rush to get in and out, you can still land on the platforms outside of the station. Land on the platform, you can request refueling, repair everything, and then take off. You don't have to even request landing to land on those platforms. You can just do it. So you have the best of both worlds. You can both just quick stop, get in, fix, and go out, or you can land and go through the hangars and do everything you need to. So it's meeting players both ways on this one. They also added an additional Lagrange points stations. For a long time, we didn't have the ArtCorp and the Microtech Lagrange points, or the L points. And I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me that I'm saying it wrong. Tell me in the comments that I'm wrong. Please, I dare you. But they've added new stations so that now all of those L points are now referenced to, are appropriate for all of the planetary bodies. You won't go to all of these L points because some of them are way out there, but they did add those in there. They also improved the Grim Hex Hospital expansion, expanded Green Imperial Medical to include additional medical rooms. I believe it's up to 100 players can now spawn in Grim Hex, which is going to correspond to something else, which I don't believe they have on this list, which is now there are 100 players per server. That's right. StarCitizen now has 100 players per server. And the performance isn't that bad. But we'll get to the review section. I'll talk a little bit about that. Next, we see the AI. They improved AI, improved NPC face randomization to be more diverse. This means you won't see the same paces copy-pasted. Then it comes to gameplay. They added the Combat Service Beacons version 2. Now, the Combat Service Beacons are attached to the Quanta system. They increase or decrease depending on what Quanta is available. That was added in an earlier patch, may have been 3.17 itself, may have been 3.16, but they added the Combat Service Beacons to be completely controlled by Quanta itself. Now there is a scalable amount that you will see. So you will see some which are very simple and easy to do, and some that can include up to Idrises that you may have to fight. But you'll get more money for those. They also included the food and drink quality of life purchase updates. Now all food and drink can be purchased in multiples using many shop kiosks throughout the verse. If the food or drink exists in a shop, like the shop on Grimhex, you can go into the weapon shop on Grimhex. You can go into the panel and select multiples of that item. So you can buy as many as you want to of those MREs at Grimhex. So you no longer have to buy them one at a time. But it only happens in shops that already have food or drink and also have a kiosk. You still have to buy them one at a time if they don't have a kiosk. Price of Freedom mission updates. The Price of Freedom is the mission where you have to go free somebody who has been thawed. That is the Ticia Pacheco illegal mission. They reduced the reputation requirement to gain intro to the hijacked Caterpillar mission, added an additional new version of the mission around Crusader, which players have completed in the first-person mission from Ticia Pacheco directly. They will be able to accept further ones from the Moby-Glass while in the space near the planets. So they've improved the Price of Freedom mission, which is something I didn't even know about, which is pretty cool. Then they have the Turret Velocity Pass. They tuned the turret velocity and acceleration values such that the feeling and weight of the turrets matches their size, and it doesn't negatively impact aiming existence. And I'll read down this exactly. Adjusted critical display status for hunger and thirst widgets to appear about 25% full, up from 15%. Made it illegal to commit infractions against players that are illegally trespassing in an area. Sorry, made it legal to commit infractions against players that are illegally trespassing in an area. So, yeah. Higher value gems will now be much more rare in loot cases. Crates. So you no longer are you going to be able to go into a crate and almost guarantee you very high value gems. Players will now drop empty magazines while reloading. That's a huge quality of life update. I can't tell you how many times I've had magazines which are empty, which I have to figure, like empty out manually. Now they just drop and just disappear. So you no longer, they disappear from existence. Disabled corpse AR marker showing for other players. So in the past, you've probably seen those AR markers for corpse over here, which may be part of your party, should no longer show up. But it should still show up for you, just not for other players. Ships and vehicles. This patch, they added the Mustang Alpha. Has a huge quality of life update. The cargo crane has a box in it, which means that the cargo works for the Mustang Alpha. So you can finally put boxes in your cargo bay of your Mustang Alpha, which is a huge update for those early starter ships. I believe it's just a box that they put in there. You still have to put it inside that box, but hey, it's better than nothing so far. Vandal ship updates. Greatly increased the fuel tank storage and adjusted fuel tank usage of the Blade, Glaive, and Scythe ships. And along with that, they also did the Blade Performance Polish. Return weapons to increase velocity, increase wing hull health, and reduce the hull health of several joints. Changed lateral velocities, boost multiplier, and aerodynamics. They made the Blade effectively peer with the Gladius. So they're trying to make the Vandal ships better to fly, which is always a good idea. They also greatly increased the health of the Nova tank, which is good because that thing could get one shot by other Novas pretty easily. They also increased the fuel reserves of the Cartual, making it better. Increased the hull health of the Ursa rover, improved the Ursa rover brakes, it has brakes now, and reverse speeds. Decreased the Scorpius maxed speed and atmosphere. It's going to happen. It was too fast. They already said that it is, but now they've decreased it, but just in atmosphere. They updated the Scorpius pass-by audio to make it a little bit better. Adjusted the Drake Mule weapon rack interactions to be easier to select. That's all of the ship stuff. Then they did the weapons and items. Updated dimensions and the MSCU for missiles and torpedoes, and greatly increased the railgun damage. The railgun is now scary in 317.2. It can 2 or 3 shot larger ships, almost one shot small fighters now, if you get a tap on it. It is a must-have if you're doing any kind of missions like Jump Town or any kind of air defense requirement. You can destroy ships with that railgun. Core Tech, player networking update. Enabled new remote movement and client authoritative position system. With this update, players should see great improvements with on-foot player positions, less jittery behavior while viewing remote player movements. This basically means that while you're looking at another player, they will no longer be tap dancing or slow walking. When you see them moving at the speed they're moving at, you will see them properly moving at that speed. They also added AI networking improvements, made many improvements to on-foot AI networking to improve their movements, responses, and reduce rubber banding. We'll talk about it here in a moment. Performance polish pass on large planetary storms, which there was causing major issues with people's FPS dropping every time a storm popped up. So they've kind of polished that up to make it less hurt with your systems. Performance polish pass for entity streaming to make it a little bit better for streaming in and out. You no longer should see disappearing stations as frequently, or like move in and see nothing at an outpost and then eventually have it streamed in. That should be fixed. They also updated Reshade to version 5.3 and added option to enable or disable the QR code from the options menu. Now, what does all of this mean? Well, I've kind of covered a little bit this already. We have a lot of content. There's a lot of updates. There's also an entire list of bug fixes. I will add that into the comments or into the description below on the YouTube channel, YouTube video. tons and tons of bug fixes and quality of life updates for this patch. Now, this comes to the TLDR and should you buy it. The TLDR, what is this patch? This patch is a content patch. It is heavy on the content. There are tons of new FPS missions. There is still the Siege of Orison, which is coming soon. If you haven't seen the Siege of Orison, it is a FPS mission where you have to go to 4 different platforms, maybe 5 different platforms. There are multiple platforms, I'll just say that, of a hostile AI that spawn that you have to deal with. And you have to find 2 things. Each platform has its own lieutenant, a boss. You have to go kill that boss. And once you've killed that boss, you then have to find what is called a IFI, which is a device which will swap the friend or foe indicators, the IFF, to attack any ships coming in. So in order for you to get to the last level of the mission, of the event, you will have to have ships which you can find on these various platforms. You cannot fly your own ships there. So you have to turn off all of the IFIs to be able to get the ships, to be able to fly them to the last stage, to be able to kill the major boss, the captain of the whole thing. So it's a series of go to this platform, kill this guy, turn off this device, move along. But you have to know the code for the lockers for the code for the device. They're in these special containers, these special ornament containers, which we'll see. That's the mission. You also have the return of Jump Town as well. You wiped everything because there was a wipe for this patch. So if you had stuff in the past, like purchased ships, it's gone. But if you played a lot, you will have UEC as well. This is a big patch. I haven't even mentioned, except for once, that there is 100 players per server now. So you even can get together with larger groups and have more experience. But what does this all mean for you? You who just purchased the game or have purchased the game previously and left and come back. Should you come back for this patch? Well, like I'll say a lot, it depends. If you are looking for a game that's perfect with no flaws or minimal flaws, kind of a release quality game, StarCitizen is still not there. It may not be there for several years. That's just the realities of it. But if you're okay with bugs, if you're okay with kind of an early access style, 3.17.2 is not a bad patch to jump back in or to jump in if you haven't jumped in before. Simply because there is a lot of content now. If you're a brand new player to StarCitizen, it will take you weeks, if not months, to get through the content that's been added over the last several years. And this alone is going to be weeks of content for new players or for returning players, weeks of content for returning players, just because it's so much stuff. I haven't even been able to do everything in this patch. That shows you how much stuff there is. Absolutely amazing content coming in. So, what is 3.17.2? 3.17.2 is a good stepping stone. It is a solid content patch with a little bit of additions for that increased player cap, which will make it very much worth it. So check it out if you haven't already done so. I would highly recommend it, but with a caveat, it is not a released game. There are still many bugs, and likely if you're watching this after the fact, you will see on the screen, I will show you how the AI like to jitter around still. There's still many bugs which will fall through planets. You will die quickly. There will be problems. You will encounter them, likely the first time you play, and it'll likely be game-breaking. That's just the way that StarCitizen is right now, and it will be for several years. But if you push past those initial problems, you'll probably enjoy yourself. Well, I want to hear what you think in the comments below. If you played 3.17.2, do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm crazy? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, hope to see you someday in the black.